Did you know that the name Luo is actually mispronounced? The original pronunciation for the name was Luo, Joluo, which meant follower or following. Joluo has two interesting stories behind it, and the second story will blow your mind away. Joluo, as we were known by our neighboring communities, was those people who live from predominant fishing. Fishing back then was a very risky and dangerous affair. We didn't have this level of sophisticated equipment and fishing gadget. What we would use was something called a data. And back then, what you would do, you would go to the river or to the lake in the morning hours before the waves, or something called a paka, and you would plunge the adita and drag it gently to the banks of the water, and you will scatter everything on dry land. Fishing was very risky. The reason why you would scatter is because you might not know if you caught a snake, you caught a frog, or you caught fish. So that is why people would do that. Later, that act came to be called tengo, to scatter, from which later we got joki tenga. Those people who, even up to date, that is how they fish. The second story. Have you ever asked yourself why every Luo alive today wishes to identify with Ramogi Ajuang? Ramogi occupies a place of prominence in the Luo nation, the same that Abraham occupies in the Jewish nation. Without Ramogi, according to us, we would not exist today. Ramogi, and that is partly why when Raila's father was launching his political career, he ditched his baptismal name Adonijah and picked Ja Ramogi, meaning the descendant of the great Ramogi. But back to the story. Ramogi, known as Ramogi Ajuang, was the son of the great Ajuang. The great Ajuang was a seer, was a leader, and was a medicine person. Before Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations, we had specialization in our African communities. The clan of Ajuang was the tribe of healers, the tribe of seers, and the tribe of leaders. That is how we would actually segment our clans according to our strengths, according to our crafts, according to our traits, and according to our weaknesses. The most interesting thing about Ramogi was not the first son of Ajuang. Ramogi did not even come from the first home. He did not come from the second doho. He did not come from the third doho. Ramogi came from the fourth doho. And Ramogi was not even the first son in the fourth doho. Ramogi was the third born in the fourth doho. Doho means the fourth wife. What we need to understand was Ramogi was Ajuang's favorite son, and to that, the grace of Ajuang passed on to Ramogi. As we were moving from Bahr al Ghazal in Sudan, we encountered a lot of hostility from our nation. And one day, Ramogi would utter prophecy and say, the only way the Luo nation will ever survive is if the Luo nation will maintain access and proximity to water bodies. And he even uttered a prophecy that there is a great river. There is a great river that is flowing. If we can only go to where it begins and start from there, that river will give us sustenance. That river will be our source of livelihood, because water will support our cattle, water will support our occasional farming, and water will support our predominant source of livelihood. That is the reason why All Luo nations have close proximity to water bodies because we were following the prophecy of the great Ramogi Ajuang. That is the second story how the Luo nation came with the name Luo. We were followers of the great prophecy of Ramogi Ajuang. Daudi, making learning language simpler.